My name's Billy. I am a ex-member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I am chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Billy.
In the Providence charter, there's nobody. You know, there's a couple of guys that are still members there that kind of came along, and I know who they are, but there are no original members left.
What about New York? Do you think there's still original members from when you were in that are still there?
Yeah, there are still guys there. Yeah, there's still some there. Yes, but
and they're not even in the same clubhouse anymore.
No, not anymore. No.
It's in the Bronx now.
I actually went down to Manhattan for an NA convention maybe a month ago. And of course, like a moth to a flame, I had to go see the old place. And I only went because I knew that, it was sold, and you know what I mean? And that was, once again, you know what I mean? This is the grip and the hold that it has, right? I started across the street, taking a couple of pictures of the building, and then I crossed the street. And what used to be the steel door is now just a glass door. And don't you fucking know the thing's open? And guess who had to walk in?
Did you?
Walked in, took a, it's obviously it's all apartments now. I used to live on the 5th floor front, but went up to the stairs that I must have walked up and down hundreds of times, took a couple of pictures. And then, hey, you're going to laugh. So I'm walking out. I'm like, all right, that's enough. Let's get the fuck out of here. I get to the door, it's locked. And for a half a second, hey, last time I'm in this hallway, I'm bloodied, beaten, tattoos burnt off, right? The door's locked. I can't open the door. And for a half a second, I panicked.
Panic attack.
I look to the right, and there's a button that says push to unlock.
It flashed you back to that time, right? You're like, are they upstairs?
Pushed the thing, opened it. I was like, oh. And I still haven't figured out whether it was, healing or what. You know what I mean? But I went down, I checked it out. Like I said, I took some pictures in front of the building and stuff. And then I took a walk through St. Mark's Place and went by a couple of the, there was the bodega that I used to go to and the bar and whatnot. And, the whole neighborhood changed and everything. And then, walked back up and everything. But that's just goes to show you how much of a hold that it has on your soul, your being. You know what I mean? It was just such a friggin' part, defined who I was for. And even though it wasn't that long of a time, and then I've heard, other stories too of members that I really, like, in my mind, they were legends and they were just, you know what I mean? And, from watching different podcasts, you know what I mean? Oh, he's out bad. He's out bad. I'm going to be out what? You know what I mean? Just crazy. You know what I mean? Just crazy stuff.
You didn't see this type of stuff happen to anybody else when you were in the club? Like,
be thrown out?
Be thrown out with your tattoos removed. And
I've seen, there was one member before me in New York City that got thrown out. I think they just covered his tattoo. I think I wasn't there when it happened. It might have even happened before I transferred down there. But I mean, sure. I mean, we threw a guy out of Providence when I was still a member of Providence. We threw him out. Wasn't certainly as dramatic as my exit. He got his tattoo covered and that was it. I don't even think he got beat up, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, it certainly, it happened for sure. You know what I mean? It definitely happened here and there.
It's crazy because I was a part of a street gang and they terminated me with the street gang. They beat out of me, almost killed me.
Yeah.
And then they wanted me to come back. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And I had to go to prison without the gang with me, So I have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But I do this show to show people that it's not a gang. It's a motorcycle club. I signed up to be in a gang. You signed up to be in a motorcycle club.
Yeah.
What do you think for the people that say it's a criminal organization and they call it a gang? What do you think about that?
I think that the everything that you've heard, all I'll do is I'll quote, both Sonny and George, that, you know what I mean? It's not a criminal organization. It's an organization that has criminals in it. You know what I mean? In the way that I've always understood it, and then I'll tell you a side story, is that because there isn't a top-down hierarchy, that's what makes it not a criminal. You know what I mean? Like, remember in the beginning of this, when I was talking about the guys that like worked for Caterpillar and they had legit jobs. You know what I mean? That's what they did. You know what I mean? So, we had plenty of people in there that were like that. You know what I mean? Not and to me, a criminal organization is you go out and make money, and that has to get filtered into that organization, and it usually goes up a chain to a head. And
top guy, yeah.
And the Hells Angels are not like that at all. So the dictionary definition of a criminal organization, no, it's not. But it's an organization that has criminals in it. You know what I mean? And I think there's proof in the pudding. You know what I mean? They've tried the RICO Act 1,000,000 times. They've had very little, if any, success with it. And there's a reason behind that. You know what I mean? Because it's not a criminal organization. You know what I mean? It's just, it in its purest form, it is a brotherhood of people who love to ride motorcycles and have the camaraderie and brotherhood, amongst one another. You know what I mean? To celebrate one another and enjoy times, with one another. You know what I mean? And that's what it is at its purest form. Does it get corrupted and skewed? Yeah, it does, because of personalities, right? But for the most part, like I always say that, like, here's perfect and here's where the Hells Angels are. You know what I mean? And then maybe other organizations further away. You know what I mean? As far as I know, there are other motorcycle clubs that kind of do have that hierarchy, and maybe they can get like busted under the RICO thing and whatnot. But no, I don't. I certainly didn't. I joined it for my love of riding motorcycles and to be part of a brother. And I know that there are others that don't feel that that's what it is, or maybe it isn't anymore. When I joined it, that's exactly what it was. You know what I mean? It was, to me, it was still in its purest form. Is it perfect? No. You know what I mean? You throw money, drugs, and into any equation, it's gonna skew people. It just is. We're human. It happens in recovery.
Yeah, I mean, look what happens in the rooms when people start sleeping with each other and things like.
Right. We're all human beings. But yeah, no, I think in its purest form. And has it changed over the years? Yeah, it probably has. You know what I mean? It's probably grown in numbers, but possibly, lessened maybe in all the other stuff, you know what I mean, with it. But you know what I mean? I've never found any reason whatsoever to have a bad word come out of my mouth about that organization. You know what I mean? When I joined it, it was everything that I believed that it would be and more. You know what I mean? And in my head, I fell from grace in that organization. Today, I'll tell you, I'm glad that happened. You know what I mean? Because I would not probably have the life that I have today. I would probably be dead or in jail, for the rest of my life, And you know what I mean? I live a charmed life today. You know what I mean? And but again, like I said earlier, all because of everything I went through, the good, the bad, the ugly, you know what I mean? Made my life what it is today.
What about the problems that they have with other clubs? There's a lot of wars going on and people getting shot and killed and fights happening in gas stations, like on Long Island recently. There's a lot. Do you think peace is possible with other motorcycle clubs?
I don't know.
Or is it a big swinging contest?
I don't think it's that. I think it certainly can be, a personality thing. You would think after all these years, you'd be able to come together, you know what I mean? And have a I don't know what you want to call front, a united front, right? Against, the society, you know what I mean? That you are rebelling against. But it's, you know, it's been tried over and over and over and over again. There's been truths. There's been, you know, have you ever had George on your
No,
podcast?
no.
You know,
I'm working on it. I'm working on
yeah.
it. George, I need you on the podcast. He's probably the only person I haven't had on the podcast
I'll
yet.
message him when I get off.
Yeah,
not that he's going to listen to me. But you know, you know, he was a guy that, you know, tried for the longest time. You know what I mean? And my experience is that there's been many truces, and in my experience and knowledge, it was usually, I want to say us, but I'm not part of them anymore. It's usually them that have broken it in the past. But there are also reasons behind that, right? For instance, this whole thing, my understanding of the whole thing with the Outlaws, right? When it started in New York. The Outlaws have their version. The Angels have their version. The Angels didn't, and my understanding is the Angels did not know that the Outlaws had declared war. And there was a member from Lowell, and Lowell were our sponsors, and that's kind of why I know some of this history. 2 members from Lowell went down to Florida to check on a member that was no longer in the club that was supposed to have his tattoos covered. So they went down there to make sure he had his tattoos covered, and I believe it was Whiskey George. I can't remember the other guy's name. They went down there because we used to hang out and we used to party with the Outlaws.